Welcome, traveler of the night. Tonight, we are setting out on a gentle journey across some of the most mysterious landscapes on Earth, the deserts. From the sweeping dunes of the Sahara to the silent salt plains of the Atacama, deserts may seem empty at first glance. But they are filled with surprising stories, hidden life, and centuries of human resilience. You might be listening in bed, ready to fall asleep. Perhaps you're studying, letting your mind rest while learning something new. Or maybe you're simply curious about the world and its wonders. Whatever brought you here, you're in the right place. If you enjoy this calm exploration, I invite you softly and without urgency to subscribe to this channel. That way, you'll always have a quiet place to return to when you want to learn, relax, and drift away. And if you'd like, share in the comments your country, your city, and the time you are watching. It is always fascinating to see our global community gather together under the same sky. Now, let us begin. The word desert often conjures images of endless sand, heat shimmering in the distance, and camels moving slowly across dunes. But deserts are more than dry wastelands. By definition, a desert is any region that receives very little precipitation, usually less than 25 centimeters, or about 10 inches of rain per year. That means Antarctica and the Arctic, both covered in ice, are deserts, too. Already, the story of deserts is more diverse than we expect. One calming fact about deserts is that they cover nearly 1/3 of the Earth's land surface. Imagine looking down at our planet from space. Every third patch of land, in some form, is arid. From golden sands to stony plateaus to icy wastelands, deserts are everywhere. And so, as we settle into this long journey together, let's begin in Africa, home to the world's most famous desert, the Sahara. The Sahara Desert is often imagined as an ocean of sand stretching endlessly across northern Africa. And while this is partly true, the Sahara is much more than sand dunes. It is the largest hot desert in the world, covering about 9.2 million square kilometers, roughly the size of the United States and China combined. What surprises many people is that only about 25% of the Sahara is actually covered in sand. The rest is rocky plains, salt flats, and even mountain ranges. Rising out of this vast desert are peaks like Mount Tahat in Algeria and the Tibesti Mountains in Chad, which reach above 3,000 meters or nearly 10,000 feet. In ancient times, the Sahara was not always a desert. Thousands of years ago, it was a fertile land filled with rivers, lakes, and grasslands. Archaeologists have discovered cave paintings depicting hippos, crocodiles, and lush vegetation in areas that today are barren. This period, often called the Green Sahara, ended around 5,000 years ago when shifts in the Earth's orbit altered rainfall patterns. The land dried, and the desert we know today slowly emerged. Yet the Sahara has never been truly empty. Nomadic tribes like the Tuareg have lived here for centuries, guiding caravans across the sands. For much of history, the Sahara was not a barrier, but a bridge connecting Mediterranean civilizations with sub-Saharan Africa. Long lines of camels once carried salt, gold, ivory, and even enslaved people along the famous trans-Saharan trade routes. Salt in particular, was once as valuable as gold. In cities like Timbuktu and Gao, caravans would arrive with great blocks of salt carved from the Sahara's desert mines. These slabs could be traded for food, clothing, or even exchanged as currency. The Sahara is also home to some of the most extreme climates on Earth. The Libyan Desert, a part of the Greater Sahara, has recorded some of the hottest surface temperatures ever measured. Daytime heat can soar above 50 degrees Celsius, over 120 degrees Fahrenheit. At night, however, temperatures can plummet dramatically, sometimes close to freezing. Life here has adapted in remarkable ways. Plants, like the date palm, provide food, shade, and economic value, while hardy animals such as camels, desert foxes, and scorpions have developed special traits to survive. The camel, often called the ship of the desert, is perhaps the most famous. Its ability to store fat in its hump not water, as many believe, helps it survive long journeys when resources are scarce. Tourism has become an important part of the Sahara's modern economy. Travelers are drawn to its beauty. The rolling dunes of Morocco's Erg Chebi, the surreal landscapes of Tunisia's Chat El Girard salt flats, and the ancient rock art hidden in Algeria's Tassili Najor. For those seeking luxury travel experiences, desert resorts now offer starlit dinners, guided camel treks, and even glamping under the vast skies. The Sahara reminds us that deserts are not lifeless voids. They are places of history, economy, and culture, shaped by both nature and people across millennia. And now, as we leave the Sahara's golden sands behind, let us journey westward to South America, where one of the driest deserts on Earth holds secrets of its own. The Atacama Desert in northern Chile is often called the driest desert in the world, stretching about 1,600 kilometers along the Pacific coast of South America. It covers nearly 105,000 square kilometers, making it almost the size of Iceland. But what truly makes it remarkable is not its size, it's the lack of rain. Some weather stations in the Atacama have never recorded rainfall in living memory. In certain places, it is so dry that scientists believe no rain has fallen for hundreds of years. On average, the central Atacama receives less than 1 millimeter of precipitation annually. Compare that to London, which gets about 600 millimeters a year, and you begin to understand just how arid it really is. The reason lies in geography. The Atacama is trapped between the cold Humboldt Current in the Pacific Ocean and the towering Andes Mountains to the east. Moisture-laden winds cannot easily cross the mountains, and the cool ocean current prevents evaporation that would normally create clouds. The result is a landscape that feels otherworldly, and indeed, it has been used as a stand-in for Mars. NASA and the European Space Agency have tested rovers and scientific instruments in the Atacama, because its dryness and barren soils resemble those of the Red Planet. In fact, when Viking spacecraft searched for life on Mars in the 1970s, scientists used Atacama soils as a baseline comparison. Yet, life persists even here. Tiny organisms called extremophiles thrive in the salty, rocky ground, and cacti with remarkable water-storing abilities. The landscape along the edges of the desert, where fog sometimes drifts inland from the ocean. Mosses and lichens capture water from the mist in a process known as fog harvesting. People, too, have adapted to this harsh climate for thousands of years. The Atacama people developed irrigation systems to channel scarce water to crops like maize and quinoa. Today, small villages continue traditions of llama and alpaca, herding, weaving, and salt mining. But the Atacama is also rich in resources. Beneath its soil lies some of the world's largest deposits of copper and lithium. Chile is now the world's leading producer of lithium, a key component in rechargeable batteries used in electric cars, smartphones, and renewable energy storage. This means that the desert, once seen as lifeless, now powers the global economy in ways that affect our daily lives. Tourists visit the Atacama for its surreal beauty. The Valle de la Luna, Valley of the Moon, is filled with strange rock formations shaped by centuries of wind erosion, making it look like a lunar landscape. The desert's high-altitude skies are among the clearest in the world, making it a paradise for astronomy. Telescopes on the Atacama Plateau, such as the ALMA Observatory, peer deep into space, capturing some of the sharpest images of distant galaxies and stars. One of the most astonishing events in the Atacama occurs every few years when the desert blooms. After rare rains, dormant seeds awaken, carpeting the ground in vibrant colors of purple, pink, and yellow. This fleeting spectacle, called the Desierto Florido, draws visitors from around the globe. So while the Atacama may seem like the driest, most inhospitable place on Earth, it is also a land of science, culture, and natural wonder. A desert that not only reflects Earth's extremes, but also helps us understand worlds beyond our own. As we leave the Atacama's silent plains, let us journey east, where another desert, though far smaller, hides a world of strangeness and secrets. The Namib Desert of Africa. The Namib Desert, stretching along the Atlantic coast of Namibia, Angola, and South Africa, is one of the oldest deserts in the world. Scientists believe it has been dry for at least 55 million years, making it far older than the Sahara or even the Atacama. Its name, Namib, comes from a local word meaning vast place. And indeed, the desert stretches endlessly across 81,000 square kilometers, where rolling dunes meet the ocean. What makes the Namib truly unique are its sand dunes. Some of them are the tallest in the world, rising more than 300 meters high. Standing at the base of these monumental waves of sand, one feels both small and awed, as if nature itself had created giant sculptures in shades of red, orange, and gold. These colors come from iron oxide, which slowly rusts the sand grains, giving the desert its fiery glow, especially at sunrise and sunset. Unlike many deserts that lie far inland, the Namib hugs the Atlantic Ocean. The cold Benguela current off the coast creates thick fog that drifts inland, providing a critical source of moisture for plants and animals. Without this fog, life here would be impossible, and life does find a way. The fog beetle, for example, climbs the dunes in the early morning, lifting its body so that tiny droplets of mist condense on its back. These droplets then roll into its mouth, giving the insect precious water in a place where rain is scarce. Other creatures, like the sidewinder snake and the dune lizard, have evolved to move across shifting sands with remarkable agility. The name is also home to a plant that has puzzled botanists for centuries, the welwitschia. This strange desert survivor can live for more than 1,000 years. It has just 2 long, leathery leaves that grow continuously, fraying and splitting with age until they resemble tangled ribbons spread across the ground. Welwitschia collects fog moisture through its leaves, allowing it to endure the Namib's dryness like a green relic from another era. Culturally, the Namib Desert holds deep importance. For the Himba people of northern Namibia, the desert is not just a home, but a spiritual landscape. Their traditional way of life herding cattle and moving with the seasons reflects an intimate understanding of how to live in harmony with an unforgiving land. Tourism, too, has made the Namib famous. The iconic Sossusvlei dunes attract visitors from around the world, especially the striking dune 45, whose smooth, curving ridge is often photographed against the backdrop of the desert sky. Nearby lies Deadvlei, a haunting white clay pan where the skeletons of 900-year-old camel thorn trees stand frozen in time, preserved by the dry air. The contrast of blackened trees, pale earth, and glowing red dunes creates an almost surreal painting. Economically, Namibia benefits from its desert in another surprising way: diamonds. The sands of the Namib conceal some of the richest diamond fields on Earth, carried by ancient rivers and deposited along the coast. These gems have been mined for more than a century. Today, diamond mining contributes significantly to Namibia's economy, though it must be carefully managed to protect the fragile desert ecosystem. The Namib also plays a role in global science because its fog-dependent ecosystem is so unique. Researchers study it to understand how plants and animals might survive in other extreme environments, even on other planets. Just as the Atacama has become a stand-in for Mars, the Namib offers lessons in adaptation, resilience, and survival. And perhaps most mysterious of all are the Namib Desert's fairy circles. These are circular patches of barren soil surrounded by grasses stretching across the desert in patterns visible from the air. Scientists have debated their origin for decades. Some believe they are caused by termites feeding underground, while others argue they result from plants competing for water. Whatever their cause, they add an almost magical quality to this already extraordinary land. The Namib Desert shows us that even in places where time seems to stand still, the earth is alive with mystery, beauty, and quiet resilience. Its dunes, plants, and creatures remind us that survival is not just about strength, but about adaptation, patience, and harmony with the natural world. From the ancient Namib, we now turn to another desert, one both vast and rich in stories, the mighty Arabian Desert of the Middle East. The Arabian Desert stretches across much of the Arabian Peninsula, covering nearly 2.3 million square kilometers. It is one of the largest deserts on Earth, vast enough to hold entire countries within its boundaries. Unlike the Namib or Atacama, which are shaped by oceans and mountains, the Arabian Desert's character comes from its endless expanses of sand and gravel plains, where dunes rise and fall like waves across a sea without water. The most famous part of this desert is the Rub al-Khali, also known as the Empty Quarter. It is the largest continuous sand desert in the world, covering about 650,000 square kilometers. It is so immense that early travelers spoke of it with both awe and fear. In some areas, dunes reach up to 250 meters high, forming landscapes that seem almost otherworldly. When the wind blows, the sand shifts and reshapes itself, creating ridges that move slowly over time, like rivers frozen in motion. Despite its harshness, the Arabian Desert has played a central role in human history. For thousands of years, it was crossed by traders carrying spices, silk, and incense along ancient caravan routes. Camels, often called ships of the desert, were essential to this trade. Their ability to endure long journeys without water made it possible to connect distant economies from the ports of the Indian Ocean to the markets of the Mediterranean. In this way, the desert was not a barrier, but a bridge, linking cultures, religions, and civilizations. The Arabian Desert is also deeply tied to the story of Islam. Cities like Mecca and Medina, located on its western edge, became sacred centers of pilgrimage. The desert landscape itself, with its vast horizons and silence, inspired reflection and faith for those who lived there. For nomadic Bedouin tribes, the desert was both home and teacher. Their poetry, music, and oral traditions often describe the desert's beauty: the stars at night, the shifting sands, the rare but precious rains. These traditions, passed down through generations, remain a living part of Arab culture. Economically, the Arabian Desert holds treasures hidden beneath its sands: oil and natural gas. In the 20th century, the discovery of these resources transformed the region. Countries like Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, Qatar, and Kuwait became centers of global energy production, shaping the modern world economy. What was once seen as an empty, inhospitable land became the foundation for cities of luxury, technology, and rapid development. Dubai, with its futuristic skyline and artificial islands, rises from the edge of the Arabian sands, symbolizing this transformation from desert to global hub of tourism, trade, and luxury living. Nature also finds its way into the Arabian Desert. Though rain is rare, life adapts to the rhythms of scarcity. The Arabian oryx, with its long white horns, was once nearly extinct, but has been successfully reintroduced in protected reserves. Small foxes, reptiles, and migratory birds also thrive, relying on hidden waterholes and oases scattered across the land. These oases, where underground water surfaces, are vital to life. For centuries, they provided rest stops for caravans and became centers of agriculture, where date palms grew and communities flourished. Culturally, the Arabian Desert continues to hold symbolic power. For the Bedouin, the desert is a place of honor, hospitality, and freedom. Even as modern cities grow, the traditions of desert life, riding camels, falconry, and sharing coffee under a tent are celebrated as reminders of heritage and resilience. Festivals and tourism now bring visitors to experience these traditions firsthand, blending the old with the new. The Arabian Desert also offers mysteries to science. Fossils found in its sands reveal that long ago, this land was not dry but green. Ancient lakes, rivers, and even forests once covered parts of Arabia. Archaeologists have uncovered stone tools that suggest humans migrated through this region tens of thousands of years ago. These discoveries remind us that deserts are not lifeless voids, but dynamic landscapes that change with time. And perhaps the most enchanting aspect of the Arabian desert is its night sky. With little artificial light, the desert offers some of the clearest views of the stars anywhere on Earth. For ancient travelers, the stars were a map guiding them across the vastness. Even today, lying beneath the desert sky, one can feel both the immensity of the universe and the quiet intimacy of nature's beauty. The Arabian desert, with its sands, oases, and history, teaches us that what seems empty often holds great richness. From ancient trade to modern economies, from spiritual traditions to scientific discoveries, its story is woven into the very fabric of human civilization. From the Arabian Peninsula, we journey next to North America, where another desert tells a very different story, the Sonoran Desert. Alive with color, cacti, and surprising resilience. Stretching across the southwestern United States and northwestern Mexico, the Sonoran Desert is one of the most biologically diverse deserts in the world. Unlike the endless dunes of the Sahara or the emptiness of the empty quarter, the Sonoran is a living garden, filled with plants, animals, and colors that surprise anyone who imagines deserts as barren. Covering more than 260,000 square kilometers, it includes parts of Arizona, California, and the Mexican states of Sonora and Baja California. The most iconic resident of the Sonoran is the giant saguaro cactus, towering as high as 12 meters and living for up to 200 years. These majestic plants are symbols of the American Southwest. Their tall, human-like arms stretch toward the sky, creating silhouettes that have become cultural icons in films and art. The saguaro blooms with white flowers in May and June, and these blossoms are Arizona's official state flower. At night, bats arrive to drink nectar from the blossoms, continuing a cycle of life that has existed for centuries. But the Sonoran's richness goes far beyond the saguaro. More than 2,000 plant species thrive here, adapted to the rhythms of heat and scarcity. The desert bursts into color during spring, when wild flowers blanket the sand after rare rains. Yellow brittle bush, purple looping, and red poppies transform the landscape into something almost dreamlike, reminding us that deserts can also be places of abundance. Animals, too, have found ways to flourish. The Sonoran pronghorn, a swift antelope-like creature, sprints across its plains. The Gila monster, one of the few venomous lizards in the world, hides beneath rocks to escape the sun. And the desert tortoise, slow and patient, digs burrows that provide shelter not just for itself, but also for other creatures, becoming a keystone of desert ecology. Perhaps most enchanting are the birds. Hummingbirds that shimmer in the light, roadrunners that dart across the sand, and hawks that soar above the cacti. Human history in the Sonoran Desert is equally rich. Long before modern borders existed, indigenous peoples such as the Tohono O'odham thrived here. They built sophisticated irrigation systems, grew crops, and crafted traditions deeply connected to the rhythms of the land. For them, the desert is not harsh, but sacred, a place where life is possible when balance and respect are maintained. Even today, many cultural practices continue, from harvesting saguaro fruit to storytelling that honors the desert's spirit. Modern cities like Phoenix and Tucson now rise within the Sonoran Desert. These urban centers, with their technology, universities, and growing economies, represent another side of desert life: adaptation at a human scale. Through water management projects like the Central Arizona Project, water from the Colorado River is brought to sustain millions of people, allowing the desert to host thriving communities and luxury tourism. Resorts with golf courses, spas, and lush gardens stand in sharp contrast to the arid surroundings, demonstrating how human ingenuity reshapes landscapes. Yet, this balance is fragile. Climate change and water scarcity are pressing issues in the Sonoran Desert. The mighty Colorado River, which supports much of the region, faces stress from overuse and drought. Protecting both the natural and human life of the desert requires careful planning and respect for its limits. Still, the desert continues to teach resilience, just as it always has. Travelers to the Sonoran are often struck by its sunsets. As the day cools, the sky burns with shades of red, orange, and violet, silhouetting the saguaros against a glowing horizon. At night, the desert cools quickly, and the Milky Way stretches clear across the sky. For many, it is in these moments of transition from day to night, heat to coolness, that the Sonoran reveals its true character: not a wasteland, but a land of harmony and contrast. The Sonoran also holds scientific wonders. Researchers study its plants for medical uses, including compounds from the creosote bush that may have healing properties. Engineers look at desert-adapted species to inspire technologies in water conservation and solar energy. The desert is not just a place of beauty, but also a laboratory for innovation, showing us ways to live sustainably in an era of changing climates. In this way, the Sonoran Desert is a reminder that deserts are not only challenges, but also opportunities. They push life, culture, and innovation to their limits, revealing what is possible when adaptation becomes the key to survival. As we leave the Sonoran's cactus-filled valleys, our journey continues south to Chile, where one of the driest places on Earth, the Atacama Desert, covers mysteries of science, history, and even space exploration. The Atacama Desert, stretching along the Pacific coast of northern Chile, is often described as the driest place on Earth, covering about 105,000 square kilometers. It lies between the towering Andes Mountains to the east and the cool Pacific Ocean to the west. This unique geography creates a double barrier, locking out moisture from both directions and leaving behind a desert where, in some places, rain has not been recorded for centuries. To walk through parts of the Atacama is to step into a world that feels almost alien. Vast salt flats shimmer under the sun. Jagged red rocks rise like sculptures carved by time. Endless plains of sand extend without a single tree. The silence here is profound, so complete that travelers often describe it as hearing the sound of nothing. In fact, NASA has used the Atacama as a testing ground for Mars missions, because its soil and climate conditions are the closest match to the red planet found on Earth. And yet, even in this extreme dryness, life finds a way. The Atacama is home to rare plants that wait patiently for fog drifting in from the Pacific, called the common caca. These fog-fed ecosystems sustain lichens, cacti, and hardy shrubs that cling to survival. Along the coastal edges, where the desert meets the ocean, seabirds, penguins, and even sea lions thrive, nourished by the rich Humboldt Current that runs offshore. One of the desert's most fascinating features is its salt flats, or salars. The Salar de Atacama, the largest in Chile, stretches over 3,000 square kilometers and glitters under the sun. Beneath its crust lies one of the richest reserves of lithium in the world, a mineral essential for powering the batteries in phones, laptops, and electric cars. In this way, the Atacama is not only a natural wonder, but also a crucial player in the global economy and the transition toward renewable energy. The Atacama is also a land of stars. With almost no rainfall, clear skies, and high altitude, it offers some of the best conditions on Earth for astronomy. The European Southern Observatory's ALMA telescope, an array of 66 antennas, is located here. Scientists use it to peer deep into the universe, studying galaxies billions of light years away. The desert, barren to the eye, becomes a window to the infinite. But human history in the Atacama stretches back thousands of years. Indigenous peoples like the Atacaminos or Lickin Entai learned to thrive in this harsh land. They built irrigation canals, cultivated crops such as quinoa and maize, and created a deep spiritual connection with the desert. Ancient, geoglyphed massive designs etched into hillsides still dot the Atacama. Their meanings partly lost, but their presence a lasting testament to resilience and creativity. Even today, small villages like San Pedro de Atacama welcome travelers from around the world. Narrow streets lined with adobe walls, bustling markets selling woven textiles, and quiet courtyards shaded from the sun make these towns oases of human warmth. Amid the emptiness, tourism here blends luxury and adventure. Travelers ride across sand dunes, float effortlessly in hypersaline lagoons, or watch the desert bloom in rare years when rainfall transforms it into a carpet of wildflowers. The Atacama also holds mysteries underground. Mummies older than those of Egypt have been discovered here, preserved naturally by the dry climate. Known as the Chinchorro mummies, they are evidence of some of the earliest known burial traditions in human history. Archaeologists continue to study them, uncovering stories about life and death thousands of years ago. As day turns to night in the Atacama, temperatures fall sharply, and the desert reveals another personality. The horizon glows with a fading orange, and then stars pierce the darkness in astonishing numbers. The Milky Way seems close enough to touch. For many, this experience is humbling, a reminder that deserts, though harsh, are places of wonder, beauty, and deep reflection. From the Atacama, our journey will take us north, across the equator, to another extraordinary desert, where shifting dunes meet timeless traditions, the Sahara. There, we will explore the vastness and diversity of the world's largest hot desert. The Sahara, stretching across North Africa, is the largest hot desert in the world. Covering about 9.2 million square kilometers, it is nearly the size of the United States or China. At first glance, people often imagine it as a continuous ocean of sand dunes, but the reality is more diverse. The Sahara is a mosaic of landscapes, ravel, plains, volcanic massifs, Dry valleys, and yes, immense dunes that seem to ripple like waves across the horizon. Temperatures in the Sahara can soar beyond 50 degrees Celsius during the day, then plunge to near freezing at night. This dramatic swing is part of what defines desert life. Yet, despite its extreme climate, the Sahara is far from empty. Oasis towns, caravan routes, and ancient cities have been thriving here for thousands of years. One of the Sahara's most iconic images is the camel caravan. Camels, often called the ships of the desert, have long been the backbone of desert travel. Their ability to store fat in their humps, survive without water for long stretches, and walk steadily across shifting sand made them indispensable for trade across North Africa. For centuries, caravans carried salt, gold, textiles, and spices across the Sahara, linking the Mediterranean with sub-Saharan Africa. These trade routes built cities like Timbuktu, which became centers of learning, culture, and commerce. But the Sahara also tells a story of change. Beneath its sand lies evidence that this desert was once far greener. Rock art found in Algeria's Tassili Niger plateau shows scenes of cattle herding, hippos, and lush landscapes, proof that around 6,000 to 8,000 years ago, the Sahara was home to rivers, lakes, and thriving communities. This transformation from fertile grassland to arid desert was driven by shifts in Earth's orbit and climate, a reminder of how landscapes evolve over millennia. Even today, traces of water shape life in the Sahara. Oases fed by underground aquifers or seasonal rain fouled at the desert and sustain agriculture. Date palms, olives, and cereals grow around these green havens. Towns like Siwa in Egypt or Ghadams in Libya stand as cultural jewels, where traditional architecture cools the heat and age-old customs endure. The Sahara is also home to unique peoples, such as the Tuareg, often called the Blue People for the indigo dye of their robes and veils. The Tuareg have a rich, nomadic culture. Their poetry, music, and traditions echo across the desert winds. Their caravans, once central to trade, remain symbols of resilience and identity in this vast land. The Ahagar Mountains in southern Algeria rise like dark citadels from the sand, with Mount Tahat standing as the highest peak at nearly 3,000 meters. The Richhat structure in Mauritania, sometimes called the Eye of the Sahara, is a vast, circular geological formation, visible even from space. Scientists believe it was formed by erosion over millions of years, but its hypnotic rings still fuel fascination and mystery. Modern developments, too, shape the Sahara. The desert is rich in resources. Oil, gas, and minerals lie beneath its surface. Solar power projects are also expanding here as nations look to harness the Sahara's abundant sunlight for renewable energy. This fusion of ancient land and modern technology reflects the desert's ongoing role in global culture and economy. Yet, there is also fragility. Desertification, the expansion of arid land due to climate change and human activity, threatens regions along the Sahara's edge, especially in the Sahel. Communities here face challenges of water scarcity, food security, and migration. The Sahara, timeless as it seems, is still deeply interconnected with the modern world. At sunset, the Sahara transforms. Golden dunes catch the fading light, and the desert becomes a canvas of shadows. Night brings a brilliance of stars, rivaling any planetarium, with constellations stretching clear across the sky. For travelers, this moment's rounded by silence, embraced by vastness is unforgettable. From the Sahara, our calm journey will move east into the Arabian desert. There, ancient trade routes, sprawling sand seas, and cities born from desert resilience continue the story of life in arid lands. Stretching across much of the Arabian Peninsula, the Arabian Desert is a land where ancient traditions meet futuristic ambition. Covering nearly 2.3 million square kilometers, it is the fourth largest desert in the world and includes both the rubble coulee, the empty quarter, and vast gravel plains and rocky highlands. The rubble coulee is legendary. It is the largest continuous sand desert on Earth, spanning parts of Saudi Arabia, Oman, the United Arab Emirates, and Yemen. Its dunes can reach towering heights of 250 meters, forming golden waves that seem to stretch endlessly. For centuries, this area was almost impenetrable, a place of legend where caravans rarely ventured. Its name, the Empty Quarter, reflects not only its size, but also its mystery, a vast sea of silence and shifting sand. Yet, life in the Arabian desert is far from absent. Bedouin tribes have long thrived here, adapting to the desert with a deep knowledge of its rhythms. Their tents, woven from goat hair, are both portable and protective. Their traditions of poetry, music, and hospitality remain central to Arabian culture. In desert life, hospitality was not just courtesy, but survival. Sharing water, food, and shelter could mean the difference between life and death. Camels again take the stage as symbols of desert resilience. In the Arabian Peninsula, the dromedary camel has been celebrated not only as a pack animal, but also as a cultural icon. Camel racing, once a pastime of desert tribes, is today a modern sport with high-tech training, even featuring robotic jockeys. Dates, another gift of the desert, have been cultivated in oases for thousands of years. Sweet, nutritious, and durable, they sustained travelers and built trade networks that connected Arabia to the wider world. The Arabian Desert is also the birthplace of civilizations and faiths that have shaped history. From the ancient incense trade routes of Yemen, where frankincense and myrrh were carried northward, to the rise of Islam in the 7th century, the desert has been both a backdrop and a stage for pivotal events. Mecca and Medina, two of Islam's holiest cities, are set within this arid land. Pilgrims from across the globe journey here each year, their footsteps echoing traditions that began over 1,000 years ago. Modern Arabia adds a striking contrast. From the sands of the Arabian Desert have risen some of the most futuristic cities in the world. Dubai, once a small trading port, is today a hub of luxury, tourism, business, and innovation. Its gleaming skyscrapers and artificial islands are a testament to what wealth from desert resources, particularly oil, has made possible. Riyadh, Abu Dhabi, and Doha also blend desert heritage with modern skylines, each reflecting the economic transformation of the region. But the Arabian Desert is not only about human achievement, it is also a land of natural wonders. Rare desert wildlife has adapted to survive here. The Arabian oryx, with its striking white coat and long horns, was once extinct in the wild, but has been successfully reintroduced. Sand gazelles, desert foxes, and reptiles blend into the landscape, mastering survival where water is scarce. Geology adds another layer of fascination. Beneath the Arabian desert lie vast reserves of oil and gas, resources that have powered global economies for over a century. At the surface, volcanic fields like Saudi Arabia's Harat, Kabor, feature dramatic lava flows and craters, reminders that deserts can be shaped by fire as well as sand. The desert climate also influences daily life. In summer, temperatures soar above 45 degrees Celsius, while in winter nights can be surprisingly cool. Dust storms sweep across the landscape, shaping dunes and reducing visibility to mere meters. Despite these challenges, cities flourish, technologies advance, and communities endure. The Arabian Desert also plays a role in global environmental strategies. With abundant sunlight, countries are investing heavily in solar power. Megaprojects like Saudi Arabia's planned city of NEOM envision futuristic urban centers powered by renewable energy, rising from the sands. These ambitious projects suggest a new chapter in desert life, where ancient landscapes coexist with visions of sustainable living. And then there is the quiet beauty. At dawn, the desert glows with soft hues of pink and gold. At sunset, shadows stretch long across the dunes, and silence deepens, broken only by the wind. For travelers and residents alike, the Arabian Desert offers both harshness and serenity, challenge and inspiration. From here, our journey shifts eastward into Central Asia, where deserts like the Karakum and Kizilkam tell stories of ancient empires, nomadic traditions, and the Silk Road that connected worlds. As we leave the Arabian Desert behind, we enter the vast heart of Central Asia, where deserts are not just empty expanses, but crossroads of history. The Karakum Desert in Turkmenistan, when the Kyzyl-Kam Desert, which stretches across Uzbekistan and Kazakhstan, dominate this region. Their names themselves tell stories. Karakum means black sand, while Kyzyl-Kam means red sand. Together, they cover an area larger than many European countries, shaping both the environment and the civilizations that grew around them. The Karakum Desert, spanning about 350,000 square kilometers, is one of the harshest deserts in the world. Rainfall is scarce, averaging less than 80 millimeters a year, and temperatures swing dramatically between searing summers and freezing winters. Yet, within this environment lies a paradox. Beneath the Karakum are vast natural gas reserves, making Turkmenistan one of the most resource-rich nations per capita. Perhaps the most famous feature of the Karakum is the Darvaza gas crater, often called the door to hell. This fiery pit, burning continuously since the 1970s, was created when a Soviet drilling operation accidentally collapsed into a gas pocket. To prevent harmful methane release, scientists set it alight, expecting it to burn out quickly. Instead, it has been flaming for more than half a century, creating a surreal spectacle, circle of fire glowing in the darkness of the desert night. Travelers from across the world are drawn to its eerie beauty, standing at the edge of Earth's own inferno. The Kyzyl-Kam Desert, stretching over 300,000 square kilometers, is more than just red sand. It has historically been a vital part of the Silk Road, the trade network that connected China with the Middle East and Europe. Caravans carrying silk, spices, precious stones, and even horses crossed these deserts, stopping at oases like Bukhara and Samarkand. These cities flourished as centers of trade, learning, and culture. Their turquoise domes and intricate mosaics still standing today as symbols of Central Asia's golden age. Water has always been the lifeline of these deserts. The Amu, Darya, and Seir, Darya rivers once fed the Aral Sea, a massive inland lake that provided fish and sustained local communities. But in the 20th century, large-scale irrigation diverted these rivers to grow cotton in the desert. The result was ecological disaster. The Aral Sea shrank dramatically, leaving behind salty wastelands and abandoned ships stranded on sand. Once one of the world's largest lakes, it is now a symbol of human impact on fragile desert ecosystems. Despite the harshness, desert life endures. Nomadic groups historically roamed the steppes and deserts of Central Asia, raising camels, sheep, and horses. Their yurts' portable, felt tents were designed for mobility, allowing entire communities to follow seasonal pastures. Even today, yurts remain a symbol of cultural heritage, blending practicality with artistry. Their interiors are decorated with woven carpets and intricate patterns, reflecting traditions passed down through generations. The biodiversity of Central Asian deserts is often overlooked, but is remarkable. Saiga antelopes, with their bulbous noses, adapted for filtering dust, once roamed these lands in the millions. Although their numbers declined due to hunting and disease, conservation efforts are slowly reviving populations. Reptiles, insects, and hardy shrubs also thrive, each adapted to scarce water and shifting sands. Modern development has reshaped these deserts. The Karakum Canal, one of the longest irrigation canals in the world, stretches more than 1,300 kilometers, diverting water to support agriculture. While it allows crops to grow in arid lands, it has also contributed to water mismanagement, highlighting the delicate balance between human needs and environmental limits. Tourism is now emerging as a new chapter in Central Asia's desert story. Travelers seek the contrast of ancient Silk Road architecture against stark desert landscapes. The ruins of Merv, once one of the largest cities in the world. In Uzbekistan, Bukhara and Samarkand dazzle visitors with their history, where deserts once carried merchants and pilgrims. At night, these deserts transform into places of stillness and starlight. Far from city lights, the Milky Way shines brightly above the dunes. For those who sleep beneath the desert sky, the silence is almost absolute, broken only by the whisper of wind. From the fiery gates of Darvaza to the lost waters of the Aral Sea, Central Asian deserts remind us that these landscapes are more than emptiness. They are stages of history, witnesses of trade and empire, and warnings of ecological change. From here, we journey further east into the deserts of China and Mongolia, where legends of the Silk Road continue, and the Gobi Desert stretches across one of the most striking regions on Earth. We now cross into the sweeping expanse of the Gobi Desert, a place that is as much legend as it is geography, spanning over 1.3 million square kilometers. The Gobi stretches across northern China and southern Mongolia, making it one of the largest deserts on Earth. Unlike the golden dunes of the Sahara or the black sands of Turkmenistan, much of the Gobi is a cold desert with rocky plateaus, gravel plains, and sparse vegetation. Snow can blanket its surface in winter, while summer temperatures soar to scorching highs. It is a land of extremes, but also a land filled with remarkable history and life. The Gobi is forever tied to the story of the Silk Road. Caravans laden with silk, jade, porcelain, and spices pass through its desolate landscapes, braving sandstorms, bandits, and thirst to connect the Chinese heartland with Central Asia and beyond. Cities like Dunhuang flourished at the desert's edge, serving as resting points where merchants found shelter, and where Buddhist monks built cave temples that remain adorned with exquisite murals to this day. But the Gobi is not only a desert of trade, it is also a desert of empire. It was here that the Mongols, under the leadership of Genghis Khan, forged their power. In the early 13th century, nomadic clans of the steppe united, and from the edges of the Gobi, the Mongol Empire expanded to become the largest contiguous empire in human history. The desert tested their endurance, but it also sharpened their skills in mobility, strategy, and resilience. Horses, so central to Mongolian culture, thrived even in this demanding environment. To this day, wild herds of Przewalski's horses, once thought extinct, run across parts of the Gobi, a living reminder of the deep bond between the steppe and its animals. The Gobi is also famous for its fossils. In the 1920s, paleontologists exploring its flaming cliffs discovered the first dinosaur eggs ever found. These ancient red cliffs, glowing at sunset, revealed secrets of a prehistoric world that thrived long before humans. Fossils of Velociraptors and even evidence of dinosaur nesting grounds have made the Gobi one of the richest paleontological sites on Earth. It is a place where history stretches not only centuries, but millions of years. Life in the Gobi may appear sparse, but it is far from absent. Bactrian camels, with their two humps adapted to store fat, are symbols of endurance in this harsh land. They can survive long periods without water and withstand the desert's extremes. Nomadic herders in Mongolia still rely on them, along with goats and sheep, moving with the seasons, much as their ancestors did. Yurts, or gers in Mongolian, dot the desert landscape, their circular design offering stability against fierce winds and insulation against both heat and cold. Water, as always, dictates life here. Springs and oases scattered across the Gobi sustain both people and wildlife. One of the most famous is Crescent Lake, near the city of Dunhuang, where a shimmering crescent-shaped pool has endured beside high sand dunes for thousands of years. Although threatened by desertification, conservation efforts have kept it alive as a rare gem of beauty and survival in the desert. The Gobi is not just remote wilderness. It has become an important player in modern economies. Rich deposits of coal, copper, and rare earth minerals lie beneath its surface, driving mining booms in both Mongolia and China. These resources power technology, construction, and industry worldwide, linking the desert's geology to the global economy. Yet, as always, development brings challenges. Balancing economic growth with environmental preservation remains a pressing question. Dust storms from the Gobi, carried by strong winds, can reach as far as Korea, Japan, and even the west coast of the United States. These storms, while disruptive, also fertilize soils elsewhere with minerals carried across continents. Culturally, the Gobi continues to inspire. Mongolian epics speak of warriors and spirits of the desert, while modern travelers are drawn to its vastness, its silence, and its sense of timelessness. At night, the desert sky opens into a panorama of stars, as if the Gobi itself were an ancient observatory. For nomads and visitors alike, the experience is humbling, reminding us of our smallness within nature's vast design. From trade caravans and fossil hunters to nomadic herders and modern miners, the Gobi Desert has been both a barrier and a bridge. It is a place where history, nature, and human resilience converge in powerful harmony. From here, our journey will flow further east and south, where we will encounter deserts that border lush regions like the Taklamakan of China and the Thar of India, and Pakistan deserts where shifting sands stand side by side with bustling civilizations. We now move into another extraordinary desert of Asia, one whose very name whispers mystery and danger, the Taklamakan, found in the Xinjiang region of western China. The Taklamakan Desert is one of the largest sandy deserts in the world, covering an immense area of over 330,000 square kilometers. Unlike the rocky stretches of the Gobi, the Taklamakan is a true sand sea, where dunes rise and shift with the wind like waves in a golden ocean. Some dunes climb higher than 300 meters, towering over the desert floor like frozen waves of time. The Taklamakan's name has long evoked both wonder and fear. In local languages, it is often interpreted to mean place of no return, a stark reminder of its harshness. Ancient travelers knew the risks. Once deep inside the Taklamakan, there was little chance of survival without careful preparation. Yet this desert, so seemingly barren, was central to the story of human civilization. For the Silk Road that linked China with the Middle East and Europe curved around its edges. Merchants avoided the deadly heart of the Taklamakan, but found vital routes along its northern and southern borders, connecting oasis cities that thrived for centuries. Among these cities were Kashgar, Hotan, and Kutcha, places where cultures blended, trade flourished, and religions spread. Buddhist monks carved caves filled with art and scripture, much like at Dunhuang near the Gobi. Silk from China, jade from Halton, and glassware from the Mediterranean all passed along these caravan paths, carried by camels and guarded by those brave enough to face the desert's extremes. Today, remnants of ancient cities lie buried beneath the sands, whispering stories of civilizations lost to time. Despite its daunting reputation, the Taklamakan is not entirely lifeless. Small oases, fed by rivers descending from the Tian Shan and Kunlun mountains, allow human settlement and farming to persist even today. Melons and wheat are grown in places where water can be coaxed from the land. In these oases, life flourishes in a delicate balance with the desert that looms just beyond. The climate here is among the harshest in the world. In summer, temperatures can reach above 40 degrees Celsius, while winters bring bitter cold, dropping well below freezing. Rainfall is almost non-existent. Sandstorms are frequent, and they can blot out the sky, turning day into night within moments. These storms, like those of the Gobi, can travel vast distances, carrying desert dust into distant lands. Interestingly, the Taklamakan has also become a place of modern transformation. In recent decades, China has constructed a highway cutting straight through the desert, stretching hundreds of kilometers across shifting sands. To keep the road open, engineers planted rows of drought-resistant shrubs along its edges, stabilizing the dunes with irrigation systems. It is a striking example of human determination to tame a landscape long thought untamable. Oil and natural gas fields have also been developed in the desert, bringing economic importance to this once isolated land. Culturally, the Taklamakan is tied to the Uyghur people of Xinjiang, whose traditions, music, and cuisine bring color and life to the desert region. Dishes like kebabs, pilaf, and sweet melons are renowned across China. Born from a land where hospitality at an oasis could mean survival. The Uyghur language, music, and stories are deeply connected to the Silk Road heritage, echoing the voices of countless traders and travelers who once passed along its edge. Beyond the Taklamakan, Central Asia hosts other deserts, each unique in its own right. The Karakum Desert of Turkmenistan is one of the vast expanse of dunes, gravel, and dry plains. Its name means black sand, though its sands often shimmer golden under the sun. The Karakum is home to one of the world's most unusual sights, the Darvaza gas crater, also known as the door to hell. This fiery pit, burning since the 1970s after a drilling accident ignited natural gas, glows in the desert night like a beacon from another world. It is both bizarre and mesmerizing, a symbol of how nature and human industry can collide in unexpected ways. Nearby, the Kizilkum Desert stretches across Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, and Turkmenistan. Its name, meaning red sand, reflects the warm tones of its dunes. The Kizilkum, like the Karakum, lies at the heart of Central Asia, where nomadic herders once roamed freely with their camels, sheep, and horses. Today, remnants of Silk Road cities like Bukhara and Samarkand remind us of the deep history that unfolded at the desert's edges, places where scholars, poets, and scientists thrived while surrounded by vast, arid landscapes. Together, the Taklamakan, Karakum, and Kizilkum form a tapestry of deserts that define the geography, culture, and economy of Central Asia. They were obstacles, but also crossroads, harsh yet vital spaces where trade routes converged, where empires rose and fell, and where human ingenuity allowed life to endure. As we leave these Central Asian deserts behind, our journey takes us southward toward the deserts of the Indian subcontinent. The Thar Desert, straddling India and Pakistan, offers a new chapter, one where desert life is not isolated but intertwined with dense populations, vibrant festivals, and centuries-old traditions. Now we arrive at the Thar Desert, sometimes called the Great Indian Desert, a strikingly unique landscape that stretches across northwestern India and into southeastern Pakistan, covering over 200,000 square kilometers. The Thar is not only one of the largest deserts in Asia, but also one of the most densely populated deserts in the world. Unlike the Sahara or Taklamakan, where vast stretches of sand seem to deny habitation, the Thar is alive with villages, farms, and bustling towns. The Thar lies at the crossroads of ancient civilizations, bordered by the fertile lands of the Indus River to the west, and the rich plains of India to the east. For millennia, this desert has been both a barrier and a connector. Trade routes once crisscrossed its expanse, linking South Asia to Persia, Central Asia, and beyond. The camel caravans that traversed its sands carried spices, textiles, and ideas, ensuring the Thar remained part of the wider network of global exchange. What sets the Thar apart from many other deserts is its remarkable human culture. Rajasthan, the Indian state where much of the desert lies, is famous for its vibrant traditions, colorful clothing, lively music, and magnificent forts rising above the sands. In the city of Jaisalmer, often called the Golden City, sandstone walls and palaces shimmer in the sunlight, blending seamlessly with the surrounding desert. During festivals, the desert becomes a stage for camel races, folk dances, and elaborate processions, where the harshness of the environment is countered by the brilliance of human creativity. Despite its beauty, the Thar is a land of extremes. Temperatures soar past 45 degrees Celsius in the summer, yet winters can bring chilly nights. Rainfall is scarce and erratic, concentrated during the short monsoon season, when sudden downpours transform parts of the desert into a sea of wildflowers and grasses. This temporary greening supports grazing for livestock, which are essential to the livelihoods of many desert communities. The Thar also plays a surprising role in agriculture, where irrigation is possible. Crops such as millet, wheat, and mustard thrive. In fact, parts of the Thar are sometimes referred to as India's breadbasket. Thanks to extensive irrigation projects like the Indira-Gandhi Canal, which has transformed previously barren land into fertile fields. However, these developments bring challenges too, as changes in water use reshape ecosystems and strain scarce resources. On the Pakistani side, the desert is similarly alive with human culture and history. Ancient forts and mosques, the landscape, reminders of empires that once ruled the region. The Sindh province, where part of the Thar lies, is also home to unique wildlife, including the endangered Indian wild donkey and desert foxes. Camels remain central to life in many areas, valued not only for transport, but also for milk, wool, and companionship. Wildlife in the Thar is surprisingly diverse. Blackbuck, antelope, peacocks, desert cats, and monitor lizards all find ways to survive in this seemingly inhospitable environment. The Desert National Park in Rajasthan protects much of this biodiversity and is one of the last strongholds of the great Indian bustard, a critically endangered bird known for its impressive size and striking appearance. The survival of such creatures in a desert so heavily populated by humans is a testament to nature's resilience. Economically, the Thar has gained new importance in recent years. Beneath its sands lie reserves of oil and natural gas, while its sunny skies make it an ideal location for solar energy projects. India has invested heavily in solar farms across Rajasthan, turning the desert into a hub for renewable energy that contributes to both local development and the global fight against climate change. This blending of tradition and technology makes the Tar a desert of contrast, sentient yet modern, arid yet full of life. Culturally, the Tar has inspired countless songs, poems, and stories. The desert is not seen merely as a barren space, but as a land of romance, resilience, and spirituality. Folk tales speak of lovers separated by shifting sands, while devotional songs echo through the night during festivals. Even the architecture of desert towns reflects adaptation. Thick walls keep houses cool. Courtyards allow breezes to circulate, and water storage systems ensure survival through long, dry spells. Yet, the Tar is also fragile. Overgrazing, deforestation, and the pressures of a growing population have led to desertification in some areas. Where fertile land is lost to advancing sands, balancing human needs with environmental preservation remains one of the greatest challenges for the region. From the vast dunes near Jaisalmer to the salt flats of the Rann of Kutch, the Tar reveals itself as a place of endless contrasts. It is harsh, yet hospitable, remote, yet full of life, ancient, yet evolving rapidly in the modern era. Unlike deserts that stand apart from human civilization, the Tar shows us how people can live not just at the edge of a desert, but within its very heart, creating culture, economy, and community in a land where survival requires ingenuity and strength. From here, our journey across deserts will soon carry us farther east and then southward, where arid landscapes exist in regions many do not expect, such as Australia and even the icy reaches of Antarctica. Each of these places will bring a new perspective on what it means to call something a desert. As we drift farther on our journey, we arrive in Australia continent, often imagined as one vast desert. While not entirely true, this idea has some grounding in reality. For around 70% of Australia is classified as arid or semi-arid land. Its deserts are not always seas of sand, like the Sahara, but instead a fascinating mix of rocky plateaus, red soil plains, salt pans, and sparse vegetation that stretch across the heart of the continent. The largest of these deserts is the Great Victoria Desert, which spans over 348,000 square kilometers, making it bigger than the entire United Kingdom. Unlike the Sahara, the Great Victoria is not dominated by endless sand dunes, but by red earth punctuated with spinifex grass and low shrubs. Rainfall here is irregular, and temperatures swing dramatically, with scorching days followed by surprisingly cool nights. For thousands of years, this land has been home to Aboriginal peoples who developed deep knowledge of desert survival, passing down stories known as Dreamtime that link the land, its features, and its wildlife to spiritual origins. Another vast region is the Simpson Desert, famous for its long parallel sand dunes, some stretching over 200 kilometers. The dunes glow deep red in the sunlight due to high iron content in the sand. While it may appear lifeless, at first glance, the Simpson supports unique flora and fauna. After rare rainfalls, wildflowers bloom across the dunes, and bird life arrives in abundance, turning the silent desert into a fleeting paradise. Insects, reptiles, and marsupials, such as kangaroos, also thrive in hidden corners, perfectly adapted to water scarcity and heat. One of the most iconic natural features of Australia's desert interior is Uluru, also known as Ayers Rock. Rising 348 meters from the flat desert plain, this massive sandstone monolith holds immense cultural significance for the Anangwu people, the traditional custodians of the land. Uluru changes color with the time of day and season, sometimes glowing fiery red at sunset, and at other times appearing a soft violet under twilight. Its spiritual and ecological significance has made it one of the most visited landmarks in Australia, blending tourism, cultural heritage, and natural wonder in one striking site. Not far away lies another geological marvel, Kata Tjuta, a group of large, domed rock formations also tied to Aboriginal traditions. Together with Uluru, these landscapes serve as both sacred sites and reminders of how human culture and natural geography are deeply intertwined. Economically, Australia's deserts may seem barren, but they are rich in resources. Beneath their surface lie deposits of gold, copper, uranium, and opals, contributing significantly to the nation's economy. Mining towns, the outback, some of which like Coober, PDR, so hot during the summer that residents live underground to escape the heat. These dugouts provide cool shelter and have created an unusual subterranean lifestyle, where homes, shops, and even churches are carved directly into the rock. Australia's deserts are unique. The thorny devil lizard, with its spiky body, survives on tiny ants and collects dew on its skin to drink. Desert dingoes hunt across vast ranges, while emus wander between sparse water sources. The desert also plays host to introduced species like camels, which were originally brought from India and the Middle East in the 19th century for transport. Today, Australia has the largest wild camel population in the world, a strange twist of history that adds an exotic element to its desert ecosystem. Culturally, the Australian outback has long fascinated the imagination. It has become a symbol of rugged survival, vast freedom, and untamed wilderness. Films, songs, and literature often depict the desert as both a place of harsh danger and profound beauty. For Aboriginal Australians, however, the desert is more than a setting. It is a living storybook, filled with meaning, lessons, and connections to ancestry. Moving beyond Australia, we find that deserts also exist in other parts of Oceania, though in smaller forms. New Zealand, with its temperate climate, does not have true deserts, but some parts of the South Island are considered semi-arid. More surprisingly, islands in the Pacific can host desert-like conditions where rain shadows or volcanic soils create dry environments. Even small, seemingly lush islands may contain patches of barren land, shaped by unique local conditions. What makes Australia and Oceania's deserts particularly fascinating is how they combine extremes: ancient Aboriginal knowledge with modern mining technology. This region reminds us that deserts are not simply empty spaces. They are complex environments where culture, economy, and ecology intersect in remarkable ways. From here, our journey takes us farther south still, to a place many people forget it's technically a desert: the icy expanse of Antarctica. Though it is covered in snow and ice, its lack of rainfall qualifies it as the largest desert on Earth. And its story is unlike any other desert we have explored so far. Now, let us travel to the edge of the world, to a place that challenges everything we usually think of when we hear the word desert. Antarctica, the southernmost continent, is cloaked in ice and snow. Yet by definition, it is the largest desert on Earth. A desert is not defined by heat or sand, but by the scarcity of precipitation. And Antarctica receives less than 50 millimeters of rain per year in some regions. In fact, parts of Antarctica are drier than the Sahara itself. Antarctica covers about 14 million square kilometers, nearly twice the size of Australia. Around 98% of its surface is buried under ice, some of which is over 4 kilometers thick. This ice sheet holds about 70% of the world's fresh water, locked in a frozen vault. If it were to melt completely, sea levels would rise by more than 50 meters, forever reshaping coastlines and the human geography of our planet. Though the landscape appears lifeless, Antarctica is home to a unique set of ecosystems adapted to the extreme cold. Along its coasts, colonies of penguins thrive. The emperor penguin, the tallest and heaviest of all penguin species, endures the brutal Antarctic winter, huddling in tight groups to share warmth as temperatures drop below minus 60 degrees Celsius. Adelie penguins, smaller but equally resilient, dart across the ice and dive into icy waters in search of krill and fish. Seals also live in the Antarctic, including the Weddell seal, known for diving deep beneath the ice, and the leopard seal, a skilled predator. Above the ice, seabirds such as skuas and petrels circle the skies, taking advantage of the rich marine life sustained by the Southern Ocean. This surrounding ocean is among the most productive marine ecosystems in the world, filled with krill, the tiny crustaceans that serve as the foundation of the Antarctic food web. One of the strangest and driest areas in Antarctica is the McMurdo Dry Valleys. Here, surrounded by towering mountains, almost no snow or ice covers the ground. Strong katabatic winds sweep through the valleys, evaporating any moisture, leaving behind a rocky landscape that looks more like Mars than Earth. Indeed, scientists often use this environment to simulate Martian exploration, studying how life could survive on other planets by examining microbes that endure these extreme conditions. The human presence in Antarctica is unusual compared to other deserts. There are no permanent residents, no farming communities. Instead, temporary populations of scientists and researchers live at stations such as McMurdo Station, operated by the United States, or the Wansan-Scott South Pole Station. These bases function like small, isolated towns with laboratories, dormitories, and even dining halls where people gather for warmth and companionship in one of the most isolated environments on Earth. Antarctica is also unique because of how nations have agreed to protect it. The Antarctic Treaty, signed in 1959, declared the continent a place of peace and science, banning military activity and protecting its environment. More than 50 countries have joined this treaty, making it a rare example of global cooperation. This agreement preserves Antarctica as a place for research, where scientists study everything from climate change to astrophysics, using its clear skies and untouched landscapes as natural laboratories. Tourism, though limited, is growing in Antarctica. Luxury cruises bring adventurous travelers to see its glaciers, penguins, and pristine landscapes. Visitors must follow strict environmental rules to avoid disturbing wildlife and ecosystems. The sight of massive icebergs, larger than cities, floating silently in icy waters, leaves many with a sense of awe, a reminder of nature's immense power. Culturally and symbolically, Antarctica is both alien and inspiring. It has no indigenous people, no ancient civilizations carved into its rocks. Instead, its story is one of exploration, endurance, and scientific curiosity. Early explorers such as Roald Amundsen and Robert Falcon Scott braved the harsh elements to reach the South Pole. Journeys filled with triumph, tragedy, and extraordinary courage. Today, their legacy continues through research and discovery. In many ways, Antarctica stands as the final chapter in our journey through deserts. We began with scorching sands, golden dunes, and arid plains. Now we end in a place of ice, where silence dominates and life endures in the harshest conditions. The contrast reminds us that deserts come in many forms: hot or cold, sandy or rocky, lifeless or filled with hidden resilience. As we close our exploration, let us remember the lesson deserts quietly teach: that survival, adaptation, and beauty exist even in the most unlikely places. Whether in the fiery Sahara, the red deserts of Australia, or the frozen expanse of Antarctica, each desert reveals a different side of our Earth's incredible story. And in learning these stories, we not only relax and drift towards sleep, but also deepen our understanding of the world we share.